lawnmower guys are all coming by now. See how much noise.
Hello, everyone. We're going to give everyone some time to get into the webinar here today. In the chat, go ahead and tell us where you're from, who all is here, what institutions you're representing. Welcome, welcome. I see some names I'm very familiar with here in our chat. Welcome, everyone. We'll just give it another couple minutes. I see people are still trickling in. I hope everyone is excited for this webinar as I am. It's going to be a really good one. So I hope everyone is ready to do it. All right, let's go ahead and just do a quick intro here. Thank you everyone for joining us today for our webinar. This is Pacing for Progress, Supporting Learners Through Self-Paced Learning Analytics. We are very excited today to be joined with Susan and Bob from NJCTL. And we are so excited to have them here with us to share their amazing story. If you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. So Bob here is the executive director of NJCTL, and he and Susan, who is the dean of faculty and director of international projects, are going to share with us their amazing success story. When they took pacing into account to help support not only their students, but their institution as well. And my name is April Keith. I am here from IntelliBoard. I am the director of marketing, and my favorite part of my job is being able to talk to our clients and hear some of the amazing successes that they have had. It is truly amazing. So I want to go ahead and just jump straight in. Next slide, please. We are going today to cover the real world impact of pacing data. We're going to talk specifically about how NJCTL uses IntelliBoard and the key insights and lessons that they have learned. Now, at the very end, for those of you who are not familiar with IntelliBoard, I'll give you the 30-second elevator pitch spiel so that you understand exactly what we are. But what we care about most today is the amazing success stories of our clients. And so at the very end, we'll have time for some questions. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat at any time or save them for the end. All right, next slide. Thank you. First, most important, we're here because we care about our learners and we care about supporting our students the best that we can. And we want to catch people before it's too late, before they have failed, before they have dropped out. So I would like for you, Bob and Susan, to share a moment when the pacing data helped your team catch learners who might have otherwise slipped through the cracks.
Well, I'll start off, and Susan, you can add to this. But
Sure.
we found that where in the past our programs were geared towards existing current teachers, adding an endorsement to teach a new subject, we had transitioned to an alternate route program or added an alternate route program that allowed non-teachers to become teachers. And we found that the pace at which they were moving was slow and the success rate was not what it should have been. We were concerned for the learners and the whole project actually of creating the needed math, physics, chemistry, and biology teachers that this was geared to do. And so the problem, the tension that we faced is that we're a self-paced institution. We don't use an academic calendar, and so we don't have um, you can't just say they failed to finish their course in the first semester because there was no requirement for them to finish a course. There was no first semester to begin with. So we could see that they were moving slowly, but it was their pace that was determining this. We realized that we recognized that that probably wasn't what they wanted to achieve either. The problem was we didn't have a goal for them and we had no way of measuring whether they were achieving their own goals. So rather than imposing our goal on them, which would have been violation of the idea of being offering courses on a self-paced nature, we put advisors in place to work with them and discuss with them what their personal goals were, what they wanted to achieve. Having done that, we needed some way to then measure and give them feedback about how they were reaching their goals. And again, we couldn't do it based on an academic calendar. It had to be based on their individual start date, their individual goals. And then we had to give them feedback and they give the advisor the information they needed to keep talking to the people to help them meet their goals. So we worked with IntelliBoard to develop exactly that, and it's had remarkable success in improving the rate. And I can show you a graph later, but the students all welcomed it. Their pace improved. They're graduating quicker. Our revenue improved from tuition because they're taking courses quicker. So everyone's a winner. Susan, that's sort of a general case. I don't know if you want to go into a little more detail.
Sure. No, I think that's good. It's a good teaser, and we can talk a little bit more, like once we get started, about sort of what that report looks like and how we generate that information.
Okay, so I just want to really emphasize here that before we really go into the details of all the things that you did and what you looked at to get to this place, you were able to help learners who are on their own paths. They're asynchronous, which makes it even more hard to stay on top of them, to encourage, to know what the goal is, as you said. The goal is more nebulous for them. There's not a specific end date you're shooting for, but you were able to support these students by helping them know, by giving them the check of at this pace, this is when you'll finish,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and put in some guardrails, some safety things to help catch them. And you said it improved your completion rates, your retention. I mean, it
Yeah,
did everything that you wanted.
it
That's
had a
what we like to
dramatic
hear.
success. I can show you when it's either now or later with what it looks like graphically. But just to make it clear, because I was doing a presentation at a conference a few months ago, and people were surprised that async online is one thing, and then synchronous versus asynchronous. But then truly self-paced is different, is beyond all of that. We have people who sign up for programs. They can sign up at 3 o'clock in the morning on April 10th and start the next day. So they have all different start dates. And some of them may want to finish by September, and others may want to finish by the following year. So how do you determine, how do you support them in reaching their goals is something that we couldn't do until we developed this report with IntelliBoard. And once we had it, you'll see that the rate at which they were proceeding through their courses more than doubled because the feedback as to what their decisions today about this, how quickly they were moving through the course, how that would impact when they graduate a year from now or 2 years from now, whether that would be in 6 months or a year. That awareness was all they needed. We don't put rules in place. We don't say if you don't do this, you're fired or you're no longer a student. You could do it whatever you want to do, but we just want you to know what you're doing, and then you can decide.
And
And
that is amazing. I'm so
yeah.
sorry, Susan, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I remember when we started on, I mean, it was about 2 years ago that we started the whole process of creating this report and talking about how we would display it to the learners in the online course platform. And one thing was we kept saying we wanted to kind of hit them on the head when they look, like we want it to be so very obvious, like this is when you started. This is your goal for ending, and you are either on pace or off pace. And also to give them some thoughts about, okay, well, if you continue to progress at the current pace that you're at, this is when you'll finish. And if you want to finish on your due date or on the date that you set for yourself, this is how you need to increase your pace. Or some are just right on pace, so they don't need to. But we just wanted it to be really clear for them and very obvious when they looked. So I
And it
think we've
sets the
been able to
stage.
do that.
And it sets the stage for a very productive conversation with your
Conversation.
advisor, because you're not saying you got to do this or else. You're saying, hey, this is where you're going to end up. Is that okay? Are you okay finishing this course in December when you originally said September? If so, we'll go into the platform and change your new date, and we'll say you now want to do it in December. So now you're on track. But
Yeah.
if you needed that,
Yeah.
you promised your school you'd have this certification by September 1st, and you need to do that. Here's what you need to do to accomplish that. You need to do this many activities per week instead of your current pace.
Yeah. With that in mind, let's go ahead and take a step back and let's talk about NJCTL. Give us a little bit more understanding of all the wonderful things you guys do, who your student learners are, just so that we have an idea that although pacing can be used across multiple institutions, I want people to really get how you're using it and how it benefits you.
Well, I'll start off, and Susan, you can correct me or add to this. But we started in, just to give you a far back history, and I'll do it pretty quickly. We were started in 2007 by the state teacher, the largest teachers union in New Jersey, to support teachers. And in 2009, part of that process became that we were helping teachers get additional endorsements to teach physics. That's what we started with, because there was a shortage of physics teachers. And I had done a doctoral dissertation on the importance of physics to science and math understanding. And to bring that to more schools, we needed more physics teachers. We became the largest producer of physics teachers in the United States that year and have stayed that way ever since. But that we started out with face-to-face classes. We realized by 2014, we'd expanded to chemistry, mathematics, and other subjects. Now we do all of those, plus biology in middle school and so forth, computer science, and lately special education. So we went into areas where there was a shortage of teachers. We started making teachers. We started with face-to-face in classrooms. By 2014, we decided we needed to go online. We took 3 years to get online because we very carefully managed we looked at each of the obstacles: academic integrity, delivering the pedagogy for online versus for classrooms and so forth. 2017, we transitioned everything to be online. We used those two, and we continued to grow into more subject areas. We geographically then spread across all of New Jersey. We've also now do a significant amount of work in Africa, where there's a dramatic shortage of teachers, and we're doing a project Susan's heading up. She can talk to you about it, in Eswatini, where we're training 125 middle school math and science teachers, and that may ramp up to 750 more soon. But everything we did from the beginning was asynchronous and online. Again, originally it started with taking teachers and helping them add a new certification to teach a subject there was a shortage of teachers in. A few years ago, a couple of years ago, we were approved to take people with any bachelor's degree in any subject with any GPA and turn them into teachers using the same approach of, say, synchronous online,
Wow.
asynchronous online. Yeah, so it's a dramatic thing, and we did start out with disappointing results. After about 6 months or 9 months, we realized that that group was moving more slowly, maybe half the speed, about zero point 0.6 credits per month instead of a little over 1 credit per month. And that's what started this whole project with the reporting, which is how are we going to get these guys ramped up at the same time, as we don't want to be scolding.
Yes, it is a little difficult when it's adults that you're dealing with because adults think maybe they know better, but
Oh,
we're all human and we have no concept how long it's going to take us to complete
and
these
these were
long
non-teachers. These
tasks.
were non-teachers, so they
Yeah.
stood to double their income if many of them are paraprofessionals or substitute teachers making $25,000-$30,000 a year. In New Jersey, if they could become a teacher, they could pretty much get a starting salary of 55 or 60,000 a year. Many of them were already in classrooms effectively teaching, but they couldn't have the certifications, and there was no path to a certification. So there was a lot of reasons. So one of the first things we did is I had met with a lot of them on Zoom and asked why they were moving slow, because they didn't really they had a lot of good reasons. Many of them had second and third jobs. They were taking care of childcare at home. They were taking care of parents. So they had a lot of good reasons, and I don't think they full, but when they recognized the value they would get out of figuring out how to get a little more time and a little more focus on getting their certification, we thought they'd do better, which we just had to figure out a way to communicate that. Susan, what do you think?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is that while we started as a nonprofit organization, we did transition into being a graduate school of education in 2020, and now we offer 6 master's degrees. So just kind of like in our snapshot story, that's kind of a key thing, I think, as well.
Well, we
Um,
also got all of our programs were accredited by AQUEP, and we're now a candidate for accreditation from WASC. So we've made progress along that same path. That's right. Thanks for pointing that out.
yeah, no problem.
It's amazing that you have grown so much, honestly, from starting off with physics teachers primarily.
Yeah.
And now you are not only changing people's lives as they are able to get paid what they're worth doing jobs that they're already doing, but now I understand you're heading to Africa as well. Susan, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. We've had, again, face-to-face programs working with teachers in African countries since 2014. So um, we worked in the Gambia and we've done various one-off trainings or shorter form trainings in many countries. But in the Gambia, we did a very large-scale project where also their curriculum, their official curriculum for the country for math, science, and English language arts at the secondary level. We worked in Lesotho, which is in Southern Africa. We did a 3-year face-to-face program there. But again, we saw the same issue as here. When you're doing face-to-face, there's so many challenges. People have to stop what they're doing and travel to a location. It takes, in Lesotho, we were there physically for 35 days every year, and we all had to come together in one location. It was rather difficult, and travel can be
Hmm.
incredibly tough for teachers. So, and then also if somebody wasn't able to make it, they missed a huge chunk of training. So we started out with doing a pilot online program there, and the teachers loved it. They were we would be doing the face-to-face in one room and the pilot online in the other room, and they just like wouldn't leave. They'd stay there until 8 or 9 o'clock at night. So we've continued to expand online. We've done online projects in Malawi, in Nigeria, and now we're working with over 100, about 150 teachers and trainers in Eswatini.
That's amazing. So I want to go ahead and bring us back around to the pacing reports.
Sure.
If you can go ahead to the next slide. Would you talk us through your pacing reports, what it is that you're providing, who's getting the information, and exactly how this process works?
Sure. Do you want me to talk through this, Bob?
Sure, please.
Okay. So we originally said what we wanted was, something visual for both students and instructors to be able to see if we have a student who has started a course at this point and wants to finish it by this point, are they on pace? And if they're not on pace, are they above pace? Are they below pace? And are they far ahead of pace or far below pace? So essentially, we wanted to be able to use this as a tool for just kind of monitoring both instructor and teacher. Um, it took a year to get it up and running and functional. We ended up, of course, everything that we do is kind of pushes the boundaries in Moodle. So things didn't come across quite as easily as we had originally anticipated. Um, so we got really creative with the team at IntelliBoard. And I remember at one point saying to Tracy, I know we're driving you crazy now, but I swear if we get this working, you're gonna love us. um, so,
Absolutely.
um, so what we end up doing is we use Inform so that we can, because that allows us to personalize and customize by student. So every time we have a student who's taking a new course, or we have large chunks of students, it's been really nice for that group of people. Thank you, Tracy. It's been really nice for that huge group of people in Eswatini because every Friday I can pull a report and I can send it, and the ministry knows exactly how the teachers are pacing. But we take each student, we input the course that they're taking, their start date, their target end date, the number of activities in the course that they need to complete, and then that just sort of generates all this information for us. We've also been able to put groups in. So when we have, Bob kind of alluded to our advisors, we have some advisors. So we have like, we've grouped them by their advisors so that, for instance, Diane can go in and she can just see her students at a glance. We use the filters a lot so we can look at by course and we can see how students are pacing. We can look at, Diane can look at her group and see how those students are pacing as a whole. You can look at just one student and you can see all of their pacing. Um, so it's really, really helpful and it all can be exported. So I exported like my Eswatini crew. I've got 7 courses that people are all enrolled in. And every Friday I just download it as an Excel and I've got a macro. So I just like makes it nice and presentable. And I just send that out every Friday to the team and they can see at a glance, I like you typically I sort it by who's behind, and then I put who's on pace or ahead of pace down at the bottom so they can see really quickly like who they need to zero in on. I think on the next slide, it may show the student level. Um, yeah, so if a student were to come in, yeah,
The only problem with these example reports we're using is it doesn't show that range of off pace, on pace, very off pace, very on pace, and so forth. But there you see a little bit of it there. This is
yeah,
a successful report, a lot of completions here, so
yeah,
that's
that's
happy.
true. One thing that's nice is kind of if you scroll across, like if I'm a student and I look in, I can see along the left-hand side, like all of my courses are listed and the target end date for each of those. And then it sort of gives that third column is the target activities per day. So we like to kind of expand that out when we're talking with students to think about it like by week. So if you have, for instance, in the third row, I need to do 1 activity per day. That means I've got to do about 7 in a week. Maybe that sort of translates to I need to do a module a week. So we like to, it's really helpful in like making things tangible. I think a lot of, like you were saying before, like adult learners think, and I mean, that goes with adult learning theory. Like I know what's best for myself. I'm an adult. But making it tangible and helping people, I mean, it's not always easy for people to say, like, I have this really far off goal, and then how am I going to break it down so that I make sure that I'm like hitting those small benchmarks every week so that way out a year from now, I'm going to meet my goal. So this really helps like make it tangible. It's a good way to talk with students. Like if I've got to do zero point 0.4 activities per day, well, that means about, 3 or 4 a week. So and we also talk about, if you have a week where you're going to have to take a lot of time off, just speed up 1 week or you can make it up the next week. So, um, another nice thing is that activities per day to complete on time, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the 6th column. You can see in the second row it says 0.7. So the target activities were 0.6 per day, but they're off pace. And in order to catch up, they've got to do 0.7 per day. So it's kind of it's really great to like see exactly what you need to do to meet your goal.
By the way,
So
this
who,
is this is very, I mean, if you, it's not just student learners. If you're in manufacturing, because I used to be in manufacturing, you'd have the meetings with vendors the same, the suppliers the same way. They'd say, it's a 2-year cycle to develop this product you're going to launch. You want to launch it for Christmas. If we don't get this design done in the next 2 weeks, then 2 years from now it's going to be two weeks late. So you have the same discussions there, and those are professional people doing it. So it's just human nature, I think. It's not limited to learners.
no, of course not. Of course not. We are all very human, and procrastination is our middle name.
Yep.
So I would like to talk about, did you have, did this, first of all, who has access to these reports? Who are you sharing this with? Do students see it? Is it advisors?
Yeah.
Who gets to see these?
So we have 2 different reports. We have the instructor report. So the instructor report gives a lot more information. And also, you can see across many students. The student report is a little more scaled back. So it's just simply like your list of courses, when you want to start, when you want to end, how many activities you should do to stay on pace. Are you on pace? And if you stay at the pace you're at, when will you finish? And if you want to finish on time, how many activities do you need to be doing per day? So it's not quite as much information. That's still a lot of information, but they have an advisor to help them sort of navigate that report. But yeah, so
Absolutely.
instructors and advisors can see a more global report that shows, everybody and has many more columns. But the students see a more scaled back report, and it's obviously just their information.
So let's talk the very exciting outcomes. What happened for you guys after you put into place these pacing reports?
Well, I've got one graph that to me is sort of tells the big part of the story. I'm sure there's more we can do later, but if I can get this to you, can you see that now?
Yes.
Yes.
So I just did put this in a notebook so I could put these trend lines. I just did that a little bit ago. This is from March 2023 through May 2025. Each dot represents this axis is how many credits were completed per month. This is the pace in credits per month completed. This is the months. And you can see that our target was always around one. And this particular group, the alternate route shortage area teachers, those are people who with a bachelor's degree and could have a bachelor's degree in French literature. They want to become a physics teacher. They have no physics credits and maybe they have an unqualifying GPA. The special program we have approval for lets us remedy all of that and turn them into a teacher. But they were moving too slowly. They were down here at like what's 0.6.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty just slowly going up, but very slowly. This is when we launched we had our advisors and this report in place. We'd been talking to the people here, but it was about generalities. It was like, you should go faster, like your mom telling you should eat vegetables. It doesn't have much effect. When we put the report in place and the advisors had that to talk about, we had this jump from September to October, and now it's still going up. And now these guys are now around 1.4, which means they're outperforming the people in the other program. Hence, we're bringing this to the other programs. So, but this is as dramatic a result as you're ever going to see, I think.
That is amazing. In 1 month, you
Yeah,
jumped. I mean, you doubled.
it's a discontinuity in the graph, and there's nothing else that changed in that month. So we could probably do a research paper on this and we'd have to do significance and all of that, but it's pretty clear without having to go too deeply that if you could get this in your programs all the time, if you multiply this by our tuition rate, that becomes our tuition revenue by month, and you could see our money goes way up. If you divide by the number of credits in the program, that's how many months it's going to take someone to complete a program. That's how fast they graduate. Either way, it's just good for everybody. There's no one who gains from people moving really slowly.
And say this is amazing. And I really want to emphasize how amazing this is because no matter what your program is, what your institution is, by getting data that helps your students see where they are, not only helps them get where they want to be. I mean, we're getting more teachers, which is amazing, but it also doubled your revenue month over month.
Yeah, more than. So
And
now actually we make
more than,
more revenue from this than most any other program, where before it was almost like, should we even keep doing this? Because are we
wow.
meeting these potential teachers and we're not making any money doing it anyway? So, and if they're just going to jerk around and not get anywhere, then we're taking what money we're getting from them, we shouldn't take from them because they really need it to keep it. But now they're becoming teachers. So we're getting graduates in. We're estimating that by the fall, with this change and one other change that we made with it in terms of policy, we're going to have like 30 new math teachers in New Jersey who were people who were substitutes or paraprofessionals who are now going to be getting well paid because there's a shortage of those teachers. Districts will fight over them. So,
And April,
it's
you
amazing.
mentioned earlier, they're going to be paid what they're worth based on what they're probably already doing. And in a lot of cases, some teachers were teaching as substitute teachers, long-term subs, not fully certified, being paid as subs, and now doing the exact same thing, they'll be, doubling their income. So,
We should point out, by the way, West Virginia, we now have a program with Department of Education in West Virginia where we've got 17 teachers who are doing the same thing to become math teachers. 17 people, sorry, not teachers, 17 people becoming math teachers, and we're using the same pacing report, sharing with them, and it's very as successful with them as it has been with our shortage area people. It just seems like a universally human nature thing that if you give someone feedback about how they're doing and they have choice as to what they're doing with their own time. We're not saying you have to, spend 6 hours this Saturday. We're just saying if you want to be teaching by September, find some time, whether it's 3 o'clock in the morning or a weekend or take a day off, whatever you got to do, this will get you there.
It's true. You're really giving the power to the student, to the learner,
Yeah.
to make sure that they know exactly what they need to be doing to get to where they're like you're not calling them every day or hand holding. You're really just giving them some
usually,
very
yeah.
helpful information so that they know where they are and they have the power and control to change that. Truly an incredible story. And thank you guys so much. This is what we want to share with people is how powerful data can be when you put it in the hands of the people who need it.
Mhm.
Um, so to kind of circle back around to kind of close this up, what is one thing that you now know about learner support and about data that you wish you knew before IntelliBoard?
Hmm. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't. I think the idea of that if we could help, if we could give people the tools to control their own destiny, they would do better. But I think we sort of knew that. I don't think we had put the pieces together before we worked with IntelliBoard as to how we were going to gather that information and use it. And by the way, I should say that we're also working with IntelliBoard on the next sort of generation of this, which is doing a program completion uh, report. So this is one course, and then the advisor has to then say, we got to complete this course by such and such in order
Mhm.
to take the next course. We're now
Mhm.
taking all the courses in the program, putting them together, combining them with this report so we can say, 2 years from now, you'll have completed the 7 courses in this program if you go at this pace, as
Mhm.
opposed to 6 months from now, you'll have completed this course. So that's just to let you know, there's a next generation of this coming. But I think I don't know, Susan, what would you say? What would you picked up on this?
Yeah, I agree. I agree totally with what you said. I mean, I don't think that we didn't know. We knew. We just didn't have the tool. And I think when we came to IntelliBoard, I remember like we had like this kind of, crude PowerPoint. We want it to look like this. We want to do this. So um it's been a really like it's been good to have like the partnership so that we could, yeah, that works. No, that doesn't work. Well, what if we tried it like this? Well, no, what about this? Oh, that works. Okay. So it's just been like it's like it's been 2 years, but it's been nice to be able to take what we knew we needed and make it happen.
The good news is if there are other asynchronous self-paced universities out there on this webinar, then you don't have to go through the year of pain we went
True.
through to figure out how to do it. Because there are
You
there
worked
are
out
cha
all
there
the
are
kinks for
challenges.
us.
There are challenges, and Tracy and a
Mhm.
lot of people worked hard with us, and you'd be surprised what
Absolutely.
they are. And program report is having similar, for instance, program report, we had the problem that what if someone's in 2 programs at the same time? How do we separate out their progress?
Mhm.
But we're getting through all of that, and I think it'll be another great instrument for you all to share. And from our point of view, we're here. We're still supported by the teachers union. We're here to support education, parents, students, teachers, and any of these tools that help people. It helps people become teachers, which means that students who otherwise wouldn't have a physics or a chemistry teacher now have them. Makes a big difference. We're now producing and we're now producing huge numbers of special education teachers. I think I don't know.
256, I think, are enrolled currently.
Yeah, so which we weren't doing that at all 6 months ago. So now we've got 256, and they're all going to get tracked with the same programs, and we're going to be talking to all of them. And again, every day another 10 or 15 start, and every day they have their own goals about when they want to finish. And how do you track 256 people who don't have a calendar shared between them? They're all just on their own calendar. This is the tool that makes it possible. And I do think that as the demographic shift continues, there's going to be fewer and fewer learners in the traditional, 18 to 22-year-old group. But there's a growing number of people who are adults who want to change professions, learn something new. And those adults really they flourish in a self-paced environment. They're not going to drive an hour and a half to a campus to sit and listen to a lecture. They need this type of education, and these tools are going to make it more effective for them.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much. And thank you everyone for joining us. Just a quick high level, if you don't know us at IntelliBoard, we are a learning analytics platform that helps turn LMS data into actionable insights, like being able to tell your students whether they're on pace or not to complete on time. We are here to help you summarize, visualize, and compare key metrics by integrating with your LMS. And we do this by giving people permissions and hierarchy that they need. So teachers are only seeing their students, students are only seeing their information. We make sure that the right data ends up in the right hands. And so best of all, this is not a one-size-fits-all approach. We understand that every institution is different and has different needs, which is why we use personas to help roll out our tool. So that way instructors have what they need, athletics have what they need, learners have what they need. And if you would like more information about IntelliBoard, or if you have any questions or like to reach out more about New Jersey, please go ahead and contact me. My name is April, and on the last screen, you'll see my email address. It's april@intelliboard.net. Now, are there any questions? Does anyone have any particular follow-up questions
April,
in
I
the
just
chat?
put in my email addresses in the chat too, in case
Oh,
anyone wants
yes,
to
absolutely.
contact us. So, no, it is.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. This has been a wonderful conversation. And thank you again, Bob and Susan, for sharing your amazing story, because it is so important to us that we help institutions put data in the right hands and make some amazing life changes, not only for your students, but for your institution.
Well,
All right. Thank you.
thanks so much, everyone, for listening. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.